I know how on the plane they got an autopilot switch, and then the captain can go hands-free for a while. Well, autopilot mode also applies to our life, right? If you're on autopilot mode in your life, you're just letting everything coast. Nothing's changing, nothing's moving, right? And autopilot is okay if you just do it in short spurts, okay? If you're trying to get through maybe a death in the family and you're grieving, you might be on autopilot. If you just experience a breakup, right? If you overwhelmed or depressed. But what I'm noticing in some of my loved ones is they get into autopilot, maybe initially temporarily as a defense mechanism, but then they stay there, and they stay there for years. And the only reason I can recognize it is because it happened to me. I went down and was low, and it lasted some years, right? And so now that I'm back and I'm happy and I'm tuned into my life, right? I'm actively participating in my life. My life has gotten better and I'm living full. So sometimes we experience trauma, right? And then we start surviving. But sometimes we get stuck in the survival mode and we never get back to thriving. Some of us have never hit the stride of thriving. Some of us haven't even realized that it's a difference between surviving and thriving, right? So let's break down autopilot mode. These are questions for ourselves because we always doing the work for ourselves, right? Do you feel like you're just going through the motions? This is day to day, week to week, month to month, and for some of us, year to year. Do your days blur together like time is just flying by? And if it wasn't for a holiday or a special occasion, the time in between is just, you don't even recall, right? So is your life more like a Groundhog's Day? It's just on repeat, right? Again, autopilot is okay if you just do it in spurts, short periods of getting past being overwhelmed, getting past being anxious, right? If you're sick, sometimes you have to time out of all the things of life, right? But if we stay in autopilot mode for long periods of time, we become disconnected. We become disengaged. We get stagnated. What's wrong?
Okay, go ahead. It said Lavinia said no audio, but I think they can hear it now.
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah, I think so.
Give us a thumbs up if you guys can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happens when we're on autopilot mode, it means we're not present. We're not present in the now. And being present in the now is a key factor into living abundantly, okay? It's a key factor in manifesting. It's a key factor in your thoughts turning into things. So imagine if you're on autopilot mode and you just adrift, right? Imagine a kite. You didn't let go of the string and it's just going on its own, right? So autopilot mode is a mental state where people navigate their own lives mechanically, meaning often without conscious thought. So some of us have been through so many things, tumultuous things, trials and tribulations, traumas, that we get sick of making decisions. You get to a point that you deliberately tap out from making decisions, or you've made mistakes, so you're fearful of making any decisions, right? We get locked in a routine But the routine, when it lasts a really, really long time, it can become a rut.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes we get comfortable in the rut because the rut becomes familiar.
True story. Michelle Blackney said, such a numb feeling.
Yeah, you're numb. Absolutely. So it's important to know that if you have a routine, but it's a healthy routine, it can be comfortable. But if your routine gets to a point that it becomes a rut, it can diminish your overall quality of life. Signs that you might be on autopilot. You have a lack of passion. Your enjoyment, overall enjoyment, is diminished. Your routine is one that's mindless, though. It runs on its own without you even having to get involved. You neglect your goals. So everything is on the back burner. Everything is in the future. But then the future never comes, right? Because we don't actively seek any of our goals anymore. You're a procrastinator. So you got a list of things to do. The list is piling up, which is naturally going to overwhelm you. And then we end up not doing anything at all. So now you're buried or buried alive, right? So again, we got to remember that autopilot is supposed to be a temporary escape. It's not supposed to last for years. Major causes of us going into autopilot mode. Again, we feel overwhelmed. We fear change. We are not being mindful, meaning we are not tapped in or tuned in to the now. You are experiencing emotional numbness. Your routine has become an obsession. You have decision fatigue. Again, at the point you're not making any new decisions, any new changes. And we are disconnected from ourselves, friends, family, and the outer world. So you're in complete shutdown mode. So some of the people that I'm personally concerned about, I feel like they've checked out of life. I feel like they're alive, but they're waiting to die. And it's scary, right? And when you observing it from the outside, it's hard if they don't recognize it for themselves, right? And you try to give people the space that they need to navigate. But I also notice that their mental instability is leading to their physical demise as well, right? Mm-hmm. And your mental can absolutely make your physical sick. So that's another reason why we don't want to allow the rut to last too long, right? So, question on here for anybody who might be suffering. If you're living and waiting to die, but you just have never really said it out loud, but low key, that's what it is. What if you lived another year? What if you had another 5 years? You know how none of us know when our last day is? But let's just say you absolutely knew you had a year left, 5 years left, 10 years left, 20 years left. Would you start to live more now? Would you do anything differently? And if we could stop worrying about what other people think, what if you could remove the judgment? If you could remove how other people feel about what you do, would you start to do anything differently as well?
Good questions.
So the personal example I have is for primary caregivers. If you are tending to a loved one, right? Home health care. They live in the house with you, whether it's your mate, your parent, your child. What I've noticed is primary caregivers give care to everyone else first before themselves, right? They're on the back burner. They don't make their doctor's appointments. They don't take their own meds. They don't tend to their self-care. They might not even wash their butt every day, right? And when you're primary caregiving, there's different levels to it. There's people who are exceptional at it, and there's people who give their bare minimum. But even for the people giving their bare minimum, you're still doing more for someone else than you do for yourself, right?
Sure.
And so what I've seen in my personal family is, if the primary caregiver lives longer than the person that they're giving care to, by the time they can focus back on their life, they haven't focused on it in so long, they lose their way, right? And they forget how to tap back into self. And by the time it's time to tap back into self, they're depleted, they're broken, they're sick, emotionally sick, physically sick, finances might be all messed up, right? How many of us have a family member that passed away and they don't have a will, or they don't have insurance, and then even your money just to get them in the ground? And so now you have to come from a place of being mentally broken, emotionally broken, finances all upside down. And so some people believe as soon as the person go, I can get right back to living. Well, not if your whole life is upside down and has
True
become
story.
a shambles, right?
True story.
And so these are things that we want to talk about it and try to get ahead of it, right? Try to be proactive instead of reactive if we can, right? We got to wake up and tap back in to us, right?
True story.
There's some things that you want to do. Some of you are not primary caregivers. You just wait until you retire. You just waiting for all these things. Well, what if we could just plug in now to now? Is there anything that you want to do, big or small, that you could accomplish before 2025?
Yeah, that's the little thing.
If you gave yourself 4 months to say, you know what? And not all things have to be bucket list things. Not all things have to be financially unattainable, right?
Yes, it can be related to your health. Like, I just want to eat a little bit better. I want to eat less carbs so that this diabetes is more under control. Like, little things, little bit at a time, and one moment at a time, one day at a time.
And for those that are have lost maybe the love of your life kind of thing, right? Or a parent and you're grieving. It's imperative to grieve and to know that there's 5 stages of grief. And some of us beat ourselves up. I'm not grieving right. Well, guess what? There's no certain order to the steps of grieving,
And
right?
sometimes you go back into different steps.
And sometimes some steps repeat.
That's right.
But it's important not to also rush yourself through the process, because sometimes we end up grieving a second time because we don't take the time the first time, right?
Yes.
And so the stages are denial. Again, no certain order. Anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance, right? And so when you're left and you've lost your soulmate or whoever it is that's been lost, right? We gotta find a way to get back into the life that we've been given, the life we have left, right? And so prioritizing ourselves, caring about us, tending to us, it is not a selfish act.
That's
a lot
right.
of us have been,
And sometimes you have to be selfish.
but what we think selfishness is not. A lot of us think that taking care of ourselves is a bad thing, though, that it's wrong. For me, I have put so many people ahead of me for so long, and then when I was broken, you're not going to get back generally what you give out, right? And when you were giving it, you're not supposed to be giving it to receive it in return anyway. But let me tell you something. When you put other people's needs ahead of yours, and then you're in need and there's no one to be found, you're going to become begrudging, right? And what I realized is there were certain things I couldn't do enough for people. And there's been times that I did so much and then got treated bad, because we've talked about this before. Dependency breeds contempt. So learning that I can't do enough, no matter how much I do, I'm still going to be the problem. Then you may even project your shortcomings onto me, make me the fault, right? So I'm not the victor, I'm the victim, or you're the victim. All this stuff that people do, I could have been spending all that time, energy, effort, and money into myself, right? I could be making me whole. So we're pouring into cups, we're dehydrated, and the cup you pouring into is not pouring into itself. We had to learn we cannot love people more than they love themselves.
That part.
And so a lot of these messages is for those that haven't done this yet, to hopefully catch you before you do it, proactively tell you it ain't good and it ain't working and it's not healthy, right? And for those of us who have actually gone through it, but we don't have nobody to talk to it about, right? We don't have nobody, or the people that we could talk to about it, they're the very ones that's putting all their stuff on us and making it our responsibility to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have to take accountability for what we do. But again, people treat us the way we allow. And I always talk about being celebrated and not tolerated. But I would love if we could celebrate ourselves. All right, y'all turn.
I was going to say that, she used an example of the pilot and in the plane on autopilot. And usually they set a direction to where they're going. Okay, I'm sure that's what they do all the time, really, if they can. Mm-hmm. Technology working good. But in our case, when we are on autopilot, we generally don't have a direction as to where we are going. Mm-hmm. Generally. I mean, there might be a time when you have a long stretch where you have to do A, B, C, and D, and then at the end of such and such weeks or months that this is going to be done. So, whatever. But other than that, when you are generally on autopilot from traumas and things, you have no direction as to where you're going. And when you have no direction, you can land in any situation that may not be good for you. Because generally, when you're on autopilot from a negative trauma or something and you're grieving, you are pulled down to a lower negative vibration. So it's important that you try to break up that autopilot in some way, form, or fashion, whether it be getting a prayer book or praying, whether it be, listening to something or someone that's motivational to you. Even if it's for 10, 15 minutes a day, there's plenty of information on YouTube and different motivational speakers that you can listen to. And if you break it up, even at the end of your day, mm-hmm. maybe, or at the beginning of your day, so you can set your day and at the end of your day. So maybe whatever is causing this autopilot mode from this trauma, it can, kind of give you something to think about, give you something, even if you don't understand it quite, give you something to look forward to. Absolutely. So you want to break up that autopilot mode so that you can come out of it. And not saying that you don't want to grieve or you don't want to get through it, but you want to break that chain of negativity so that you can actually heal. So here's some tools for your toolbox, right? How to focus on self, get life back on track, and get back to thriving, right? Not just surviving, but thriving. First, you want to prioritize yourself. Secondly, you want to reconnect if you've disconnected. Third, you got to disrupt that routine and get out of the rut. It's important that we pay attention to our thoughts because thoughts turn to things. It's important that we know how we feeling. I was telling my wife earlier, you know how many times you ask somebody, hey girl, how you doing? And the all right is so dry and painfully coming out because they just used to saying all right. But if you listen to the tone of the all right, they everything but all right, right?
You have to step outside of your comfort zone, which is got a lot of us imprisoned, right? Fear of the change, fear of the unknown. So we stay stuck. You want to self reflect. What are your goals? What are your values? What are your passions? Right? What's some stuff you used to like to do you no longer do? And what's some stuff you've never done that you're willing to try? You got to be mindful. When we talking about mindfulness, it literally just means being present in the now. And again, that's where all of the abundance comes from. All the joy comes from. That's where all the manifesting comes from. Being present in the now. Because you have to appreciate right now. Again, what's our goals? Have we forgotten? Are we at an age where we thinking about our heyday? When I was 25, I was fine as wine. All right, 25 was so long ago. What about right now, right? Change. Sometimes we got to change our environment, our circumstances, our circle, our group, what we're tapping into, right? If you are in a routine, try to add some purpose to it. Because we want to get back to a point where we feel fulfilled and we want to keep learning, evolving, and growing.
Yes, yes. And when we talk about goals, goals are not always just geared towards a career or financial success. Goals could be just to smile more. Honestly, that's one of my goals.
Healing.
Yes. Because I'm learning how to operate more so out of joy than just expansion, because the expansion is going to come if you have joy in your life. That's what I've learned. So, you just want to know that there's so many ways and so many things you can do to set goals. It can be for your mental health. It can be for your physical health. And next week, I'm going to bring on a young lady who lost a lot of weight using some of the weight loss tips that I talk about when people ask for weight loss tips. So it's just so many things that you can do. It could just be not to focus on the pain that you feel every day. OK, and if you feel in joint pain, we have supplements for that. But the point is, goal setting is not necessarily geared towards just financial or career success. It's for your everyday life. And that's, just your everyday life, your happiness, your joy. That is really what helps you with your peace of mind. This career thing is so many people that reach their career goals and then they look up and all they see all the accomplishments and they see all the money they make. And I know of several people and they're like, they still feeling empty. The bank account is full and all that, but they still feeling empty inside. Everybody be like, ooh, I just want to be wealthy. And I get that. But and money can, buy some things and take care of some bills and take some financial stress off, but it does not bring joy into your life. And I'm a living witness of that. Okay. Because I've been there too. Okay. So just know that. Yes. Michelle said, just simply not being numb and being present. All of that matters in our day-to-day life.
You are your number one investment.
Yes, you are.
And you only get one life to live.
That's right, on this side.
So,
yes. So make sure you take the time, if you're on autopilot, to get off autopilot by making small goals. It don't have to be a big goal, just little goals. And when you reach those small goals, even if you get one thing done towards something you want to do in the direction you want to go, celebrate that. Yeah. Celebrate that accomplishment. Don't say, oh, I had 5 things that I wanted to get done. We can be
our worst critic, right? We beat ourselves up and it's not contributing to a better quality of life, right? So again, key points. We want to not stay in survival mode. We want to get out of fight or flight mode. And we want to get to a point where there's some joy, some peace of mind, right? And so it's available to us, but we have to know that it's a choice, right? To choose to tap into your own life, to choose to live better than you've lived, or to get to a returned place that you used to have joy. Or if you've never had it, you still deserve it, right? It's still available to you. And if there's nobody around you that's had it, it still don't mean it's not for you.
That's right. That's right. And I was having a conversation. Hey, Tanya Day said, I needed to hear this. Thank you. We actually spoke a little bit today. And what I would like to say, taken from the conversation that we had, that she spoke on, you know, life gonna be lifing. Things gonna happen. We gonna have physical and emotional storms in our life. We gonna have financial storms in our life. But whatever happens in your life, you have to know that God or the universe or whoever, whatever you believe in, is still there, and that you can tap into your source and get whatever you need, and you will be just fine. And of course, we may want a certain president to get into office, but at the end of the day, no matter what the circumstances, we still have to know that we are going to be okay. We are going to get through it. And if you believe it and receive it and conceive it, you will achieve it. That's right. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining us and tuning in. If you're not following, make sure you follow to get this good information. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Celebrate the little things.
That's right.
The hair growth, the skin, the environment, whatever it is. Even though it's sunny and it's about to rain, it's still all good, right? It's all about your perspective, your point of view.
That's right.
So we love y'all. We got to get out of here.
And we thank you so much, and take care of yourself. Take your supplements if you haven't already. I know it's late in some places.
Absolutely.
But push yourself out of bed and get those supplements, because that's one key to your physical health, which is also going to be a factor in your mental health. All right. Remember, health is wealth.
So let's stay healthy together.
Have a good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.